Hello, it's Wednesday the 19th of December, and in this video I'm going to look at the latest Lotto results. I'm going to analyse them and see if I can make some predictions based on the analysis. Now, the last Lotto video that I did was a week ago, and that was for draw 2395. So since then there's been 3 more draws, so I'm going to analyse each one of these draws and show you all the most outstanding coincidences. So first of all, and this is my analysis of the most recent draw. So in draw 2398, these are all the numbers that were most outstanding, and these are all the coincidences. So narrowing it down as much as possible to the individual machine and set of balls that was used, number 35 was most overdue for its frequency. So I'll just show you what that looks like on a chart. So this is what the chart looked like before draw 2398. Yeah. So right. So this is what the chart looks like, and if we narrow it down to Guinevere, set of balls 4, then we get a chart that looks like this. And if you measure the area of a rectangle from the bottom corner to each number, then you'll find that the one for 35 is the biggest one, the largest area. That means it's most overdue for its frequency. So that's the only number that really stood out initially. And then looking at a chart for the 2 machines that are in use at the moment, Guinevere and Lancelot, and the current sets of balls are sets 1 to 4. But if we look at all sets of balls, just the 2 machines that are in use at the moment, and only the draws where 35 has been drawn, then we'll find that number 26 is most overdue for its frequency to occur with 35. So I'll just show you what that looks like on a chart. So just bear with me a second. Okay, so this is the chart for Guinevere and Lancelot, all sets of balls since the numbers went up to 59 in draw 2066. Only looking at the draws where number 35 has been drawn. This is the chart, and you can see 26 has a frequency of 2. The last draw it occurred in was draw 2122. And if we do the same trick with the rectangle again, measure the area, 26 the biggest area, means it's most overdue for its frequency. So that number stood out with 35 in that way. Now 26 points to 35, and looking at just the chart for just the draws where Guinevere has been used with sets 1 to 4 and 26 has been drawn, 49 comes up as most frequent. If you look at 49, 26 is most frequent, in the same way with 49. So I will just show you that on a chart. So this is the chart for Guinevere, sets 1 to 4, main number 26, and you can see 49 is most frequent. So we're only actually looking at 6 draws where these two numbers have occurred together, and so you can see, because those two numbers came out 3 times in those draws, then they're most frequent together. So the analyzer shows that 35 was predictable, 26 was predictable, 49 was predictable, and that's as far as it gets. Number 5, number 34 and number 43 were unpredictable. So that's my analysis for the most recent draw. Now the draw before it, 2397, not many coincidences there. So none of these numbers stood out when looking at all the outstanding numbers. So pretty rubbish result really. Unpredictable basically. So skip that one, let's go to draw 2396. Well, that's a little bit better I suppose. At least 36 stood out as most overdue for its frequency with Lancelot and sets of balls 1 to 4. And 6 and 23 with that machine, those 4 sets of balls, 6 and 23 most frequent together. But 36 don't point to any other numbers, so only one number could have been predicted. And to be honest, I don't really look at this section, I only look as far as the current trend anyway. So I wouldn't have predicted that. So it seems like they're a bit impossible to predict, these numbers. Now instead of doing an analysis, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have a look at draw 2375 and see what stands out. Now I already know the result of draw 2376, but I'm going to show you how that result could have been predicted. Now if you look at the numbers that are most overdue for the frequency, notice 36 occurs twice in that column. Well, for that reason, let's just say that we pick 36. Now, looking at the most overdue numbers, see that 17 comes up twice in that column. So let's just pick 17 for that reason. Now, the number that's most overdue for its frequency with 36 is number 40. So let's pick that number. And now let's look at these most frequent numbers. Starting with 54. And I notice 40 stands out with 54 as well. And let's look at let's look at 58. And what stands out with 58? 44. So let's pick 44 for that reason. And now let's have a look at the result of draw 2376. See, it's the same numbers. So all those numbers were basically predictable. So what I'm saying is, for that draw, for that one draw, it could have. There's basically an algorithm, and the algorithm is pick this number because it comes up twice in this column. Same with this one, and then the number that's most overdue for its frequency with the number that is most overdue for its frequency. Pick that one, and the one that's most overdue for its frequency with the most frequent number as well. And you can see how all these numbers were predictable in that draw. So if we were using an algorithm, then that algorithm would have produced a winning combination at least once. So that's a winning algorithm. So the question is, would the same algorithm work again? Or would a similar algorithm work to predict maybe a future result or some other draw? And if so, you can see how, by looking at it this way, by doing an analysis and finding an algorithm like this one, or finding the ways in which the numbers were predictable, then it could be possibly, it might actually be possible to come up with like some kind of formula for winning, a formula that would basically at some point produce a win. So you've just seen how in draw 2, 3, 7, 6 the winning numbers were the ones that come up twice in this column, and then the most frequent numbers, and if you look at the moment, it's the same numbers that stand out as most frequent, and now it's 29. 29 is the one that is most overdue for its frequency, and it also comes up as most overdue when looking at the current trend sets of balls. So we definitely want to pick 29, and if you remember, it was the number that was most overdue for its frequency with 29, with 36 that come out. And if you look at the number in that position this time, it's 37 points back to 29. Now, just out of interest, let's see what stands out with 54. Notice this is similar to this one, and let's see what stands out with 58. And then the only other overdue number is 57. So let's have a look at that one and see what numbers stand out with these numbers. Now, I'm not going to predict that this algorithm is going to work to predict another result, but I notice 34 comes up a lot on there, and so does 18 with 29. So maybe I'll pick 18 for that reason. And then you notice 43 is most overdue for its frequency with 18, and it's also most overdue with 54. So maybe I'll pick 43, and probably instead of one of the other numbers. So let's see what coincidences we would get. So it's a highly unlikely outcome, but it's just as likely as any other outcome. And if these numbers came out, you can see how there's an algorithm that would predict all these numbers, and the algorithm being that you choose the most outstanding numbers and the numbers that stand out the most with those. So anyway, to find even more coincidences, I've decided to start looking at it in a different way. And what I've done, and this is why I've not uploaded a Lotto video for over a week. The reason why is because I've been working on this. So you notice how I've got a chart, an analyzer, and now I've got a new chart 2. Now, the only difference on this chart that makes it different to this one is that these numbers, the purple boxes, are now controlled. Well, these ones are anyway. Oh, they should have been. Oh, damn it. I'll have to just put that back how it was. But anyway, these numbers are now controlled by the other chart. So just bear with me a second. Okay, so this chart controls the other one, and basically what I've done is I've taken the analyzer and used it to basically see which number is most overdue for its frequency in every draw. So throughout the entire draw history, this column shows which number is most overdue for its frequency, and then on this section, if that number comes out, then this basically highlights the coincidences, and this section filters out only the draws that match the current criteria, which obviously, as you can see, 49, so it's only looking at that draw. But anyway, these are virtual numbers. So if I said to you that you can see how 54 is the most frequent number, right? It's come out 46 times. Well, if I said to you that there is a number that comes out more frequently than the most frequent number, then obviously that doesn't make any sense. However, let's suppose that instead of it being a number, it's basically like a mask that other numbers can hide behind. So it's not a real number, it's basically a concept. And so the number that is most overdue for its frequency is basically it's a concept. So it can be any number, and whichever number it is, we'll call that number M. And then we can treat M as though it's another number. We can measure its frequency, and we can measure which draw it occurred in last. So, for instance, this is a chart that summarises all the draws since the numbers went up to 59, and the x-axis shows how many times each number's occurred, the y-axis shows which draw the number occurred in last. So you can see the most recent result is at the bottom. You can see that 54 is the most frequent number. It's come out 46 times. Now if we look at M as being a number, you can see that M's come out 59 times. 59 times, and the last draw it come out in was draw 2376. So this virtual number is like a mask that other numbers can hide behind. At the moment 29 is the number that is wearing the mask, and the mask has come out 59 times. Or should I say, the number that is most overdue for its frequency in any draw has come out 59 times. So it's more frequent than the most frequent number. In fact, the difference is 13 draws more. That's like, as a percentage, let's see, where's my calculator? As a percentage, 59 divided by 46 equals, times that by 100%. Hang on, what there? That's wrong. Right, let me just try that again. 59 divided by 46. Oh, that's where I went wrong. 46 equals, and times that by 100. So the difference is 28.26%. So the number that is most overdue for its frequency at the moment is 29, and basically this number, or virtual number M, has come out 28% more frequently than the most frequent number. So that gives us an edge. Now that we can treat M as a virtual number, I wondered what it would look like if I could produce a chart for M. So like you notice on the chart, I can produce a chart for just the draws where number 29 has been drawn. So these are all the draws where 29 has come out. These are all the numbers that came out with that number, and this is how many times each of these numbers came out with that number, and that number is 29. However, 29 wasn't the number that was most overdue for its frequency in all these draws. However, the number that was most overdue for its frequency in all these draws was M. So I'm going to show you what a chart looks like for M. So M being whichever number was most overdue for its frequency in any draw, these are all the numbers that came out with or as the most overdue for its frequency. Now it's an interesting shaped chart, and it's almost like some kind of cosmic joke that it resembles a Christmas tree at this time of year. I mean, to me that looks like the shape of a Christmas tree. But anyway, I'm just being silly basically saying that, but that's what it looks like. So this is the M chart, and so this is showing all the numbers that have occurred either with or as M, and if I just turn on this filter, it will only show the numbers that have occurred with M and exclude the ones that have occurred as M. So now we get a different looking chart, a chart that looks not like a Christmas tree but whatever that shape resembles. Now, I've seen a lot of different charts, and this is quite an unusual shape, so it's interesting, and I'm not quite sure what to make of it yet. So if you've any ideas, just let me know in the comments. But we can take this further, because you notice that there's three numbers. We've got M, which is most overdue for its frequency. We've got F, which is most frequent, and O, which is most overdue. Now, let me just check something. Yep, so that's working on that one. Let me just check on this one. See, what I'm just checking is that, you see, that's not right. These numbers need to be filtered out for draws before draw 2066. It should look like this. Now, I'm gonna just have to change this on the other number palette sheet, so I'm just going to copy that, and I'm going to go on the other one and just paste it. See, what I'm doing by doing that, that should change the readings for the most overdue numbers, because if you understand this equation, basically what I'm doing is filtering out the draws where these numbers, because these numbers in the 50s didn't, they weren't in the draw, they weren't in any draw until after draw 2066. So basically what I'm doing is saying, if the draw history that I'm looking at is before that, then the earliest draw that these numbers can occur in is draw 2066, whereas before it would have come up as 0. So it's basically fixing a bug. So I've just fixed a little bug there, basically. But anyway, so I can produce a chart for O as well, O being the most overdue number. So this is the O chart, and that's with or as O, and if we turn on this filter, then it's only with O, with the most overdue number. And I noticed that number 10 stands out on that. So if we go back to the main chart, you can see the most overdue number is 57. And if we look at a chart for 57, then it looks like this. You see how number 10's down there? Don't really stand out much, does it? But now that we know that number 10 is most overdue for its frequency to occur with whichever number is most overdue, then we know that 10 actually does stand out more with 57 than what we would find out by looking at the chart for 57. So a really crazy thing we can do is look at 57 and O at the same time. So a real number and a virtual number at the same time. And if we do that, then we get this. So the chart for 57 looks like this. However, the chart for the most overdue number, which is 57 at the moment, that's the chart for most overdue numbers. And the other chart that we can look at is the F chart. Now I'm going to predict something before I show you the F chart. If we're looking at numbers that have occurred with or as the most frequent number, and we're producing a chart for that, then obviously the most frequent number is going to come up a lot more often than any other number because it is the most frequent number. So on the F chart you will probably see the most frequent numbers standing out a lot more frequently than normal. So this is the F chart, and this is what I'm saying. You see 54 is right over there, much more frequent than the other numbers, because 54 has been the most frequent number for quite a long time. So when we're only looking at the draws where the most frequent numbers come out, obviously the most frequent number is going to be much more frequent. So that's the F chart. That's the with or as F chart, and we can change it so that we only look at the numbers that have come out with the most frequent number. And when we do that, then we get a chart that looks a lot more normal. See, now it looks just like a normal chart. And because we know that 54 has been the most frequent number for the longest amount of time, then I would also predict that this chart, the F chart, should look very similar to the chart for 54. So this is the F chart, and if I get rid of that F and put a 54 in one of these boxes, then we'll see the chart for 54 is very similar. So you can see the similarities between this and the F chart as predicted. So I'm not quite sure where I'm going to be going with this at the moment. See, the thing is, I've got the draw history, and then I've got the counter set. This basically counts the occurrences of each number. So this is basically profiling the numbers, and then that goes into this analysis section, and it produces this analysis. And so I've got an analysis running parallel to the draw history, so I can produce a chart, I can do an analysis for any draw, but the next step is to take the most outstanding numbers in each draw and treat them as virtual numbers, and then produce a chart for those numbers. So this is the M chart, and then what I'm doing is analysing, doing an analysis. So this is like a second level analysis of the entire draw history just for the draws where the most overdue for its frequency, the most frequent or most overdue number has come out. So it's like I'm going through the draw history to find the most outstanding numbers, and then going through it again to produce this second level analysis, which is like really complicated, and it's basically giving me a massive headache trying to get my head around it. But at some point, see how I've got this little analysis of the M chart? Well, on the analyzer section, this basically tells you which one is the most frequent, most overdue, or most overdue for its frequency for this specified criteria. And we can look at real numbers and see what numbers stand out with the real numbers as most overdue for the frequency, most overdue, or most frequent, or whatever. But what I'm planning to do at some point in the future is add 3 more columns to this analyzer, one for each of these virtual numbers. So on the analyzer at the top it will say something like F or M or O in these 3 extra columns, and then underneath we'll have an analysis. And I might just do that to see if we get any more coincidences besides the ones that come up when we're just looking at it normally. So for instance, looking at the most recent draw, we only get these coincidences. So these are the coincidences that we get looking at the most recent draw. So altogether we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 coincidences. But the question is, if we included this analysis, would there be any more coincidences? So given that we're only looking at the draws where the number that was most overdue for its frequency occurred, nothing's going to come up on this chart. Now the last draw in which that occurred was draw 2376. So if we analyse that draw, see, we get all these coincidences. So now if we look on the M chart, 2375, and we're going to analyse draw 2376 and see what comes up on the analyzer section. So man, this is confusing. Why is that blank? Why the hell is that blank? That don't even make no sense. That shouldn't be blank. In fact, actually it should be blank because this filter's on. So if I turn this off, that won't be blank. There we go, 36. Right. So in this draw 2376, the number that was most overdue for its frequency was 36, and basically none of these numbers stood out on this chart, but if they did, then it would come up on this analysis section. So that's like another level of coincidence. Now I know that the most frequent number came out in that draw. So not a coincidence really that the most frequent number was most frequent on the F chart. But if we filter it, see, nothing comes up on the analyzer on that. So the question is, would we get more coincidences if we did that? And if we did, and we got more coincidences, then that would basically help me to come up with some kind of common formula that predicts more of the winning numbers than what I'm predicting at the moment, so it's just really confusing. I'm not quite sure where I'm going with this. In fact, let's have a look at draw 2, 3, 7, 2. Oh, hang on, not on that one. Not on that one, on this one. Right, draw 2, 3, 7, 2. No, wait, draw 2, 3, 7, 1. 2, 3, 7, 1. And we're analysing draw 2, 3, 7, 2. Now, on the analyzer, 2, 3, 7, 2. So, in this draw, we get the most frequent number. Oh man, I'm really confused now. This is too confusing, so I'm not really sure where I'm going with this, but for now I'm just going to wrap this video up because it's gone on long enough now. This is like a 40-minute video. Nobody's got 40 minutes to spend watching this. So that's my analysis of the most recent result. These are the numbers that stand out at the moment. And the numbers that I'm going to be putting on, probably 29, 18. You know, some of these outstanding numbers, 57. And maybe some of these numbers that stand out with these numbers. So anyway, that concludes this video. Maybe I'll figure it all out for the next video, but it's getting really complicated now, so I'm not quite sure where I'm gonna go with this next. So if you've got any ideas, let me know in the comments. You know, I'm really confused and I don't know what to do. But anyway, yeah, so 29 and 18, I'm waiting for them numbers to come out. Oh, actually, before I wrap this up, if you're following this strategy, right, hang on. Oh, it's saving it. Right, hold on, let me just pause it. Right, so if you're following this one number up pick strategy, where as the number of draws increases, the number of lines that you put on increases exponentially in order to cover your losses and still make a small profit. So this is a running balance type analysis thing. So this is your balance, and this is your balance if you lose, this is your balance if you win, or something like that. And this is right, yeah. Right, so this is how many draws the number that is most overdue for its frequency has been the most overdue for its frequency for. So it started off as 35, then it changed to 29, and 29 has been most overdue for its frequency now for 23 draws minus 3, so for 20 draws it's been number 29. And according to this strategy, the amount of one number op picks that we need to put on number 29 for this draw is 36. So if you put 36 one number out picks on number 29 and it comes out, then you will win £216. Now, if you've been following this strategy since this whatever draw that was, then your balance will now be down to minus £102, which is terrible. So if you're following this strategy, then you need to put £36 on number 29 to win £216, cover losses of £138 and bring your balance up to basically 78 quid. So this is your balance if you lose, this is your balance if you win, and this is a running total of what your balance would be if you'd been applying this strategy. So basically you can ignore these three columns and just look at this one. So £36 on number 29, if it comes out your balance will be 78 quid. So if you've been following this strategy, that's what you'd be up to now. So I don't know if I'm going to put £36 on number 29, but I'll certainly put a few hot picks just on that one number. So that concludes this video, and bye for now.